Hi everyone, it's Pastor Dan with uplifting thoughts for today. It's February, can you believe it? Let me ask you, what do you think of when you think of the second month of the year? Many people, of course, think of Valentine's Day. And also on the church calendar, in February, the season of Lent begins. This year, that 40-day journey preparing for Easter begins on Ash Wednesday, the 17th. And of course, my focus this month is on Kay's birthday, so February is always a favorite of mine. Also, this month completes one full year of these daily devotionals. Can you believe it? Pastor Steve and Pastor John and myself, along with several of our staff at St. Mark, as well as church leaders and others, began sharing these words of encouragement last March. And of course, we didn't know what a crazy year 2020 would turn out to be. Although we began to realize that the winds of change were blowing upon us all, and we as church leaders understood the need for hope. Hope that comes from meaningful encouragement in a daily reading of Scripture. But we really never dreamt that we would still be dealing with a growing global pandemic and all of its effects upon our health as well as our way of living and relating. There's been enormous change in our travel patterns, our way of shopping and eating and entertainment. Life as we knew it is no longer the same, including enormous social unrest these days. So, familiar monthly routines can be a good thing, helping us to navigate our way forward in 2021. The scripture verses I want to share with you today talk about hope. Remember, hope is one of three things that will always remain. In other words, when so much is changing all around us and so many of us are losing loved ones, or so much of our lives, or our livelihoods, our health, or even the way we used to live, hope is not lost. There's always a new way forward. 1 Corinthians 13, verses 12 and 13, the Apostle Paul writes, "For now we can only see a dim and blurry picture of the things as when we stare into a polished metal." He's talking about not being able to see clearly the things that are ahead for us. Paul goes on to say, "I realize that everything I know is only part of the big picture. But one day when Jesus arrives, we will see clearly face to face. In that day, I will fully know, just as I have been wholly known by God. But now faith, hope, and love remain." In other words, they always will. Look for them among us. And then he says, these three virtues must characterize our lives. And of course, he ends by saying, the greatest of these is love. So we can spend our time practicing our familiar monthly rituals or sharing in our religious routines that might even look like Christianity on the outside, but still we could lack the essential ingredient that brings all of it together. And that, of course, is love. That same love that guided a loving God must guide His followers so that our faith, hope, and love are not just meaningless noise. There's a lot of voices in our world today that are just meaningless noise, voices avoiding love. As followers of Jesus, listen to the voice of God who calls us to live a life of love. That's what I want us to unpack together this week. The lesson of love. It's what the world needs now. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.